Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, you know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective and our attorney's perspective with Melanie Little, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you get all things DutyRon and Melanie Little when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we have a very, very shocking case and story to talk to you about. Harmony Montgomery, murdered at the hands of her father. Shocking new documents released today. And Melanie and I have been going back and forth during the course of the day. It's just heartbreaking, to say the least. And I'm being light with that. Melanie, how you doing this evening? And thank you for being brave enough to come live to talk with me and the audience about this case.
This is a really hard one.
Yeah.
It's a really hard one. It took me at least 5 or 6 sit downs to try and get through this 48-page probable cause affidavit. It is heart-wrenching. This is rough, guys. I'm trigger warning you right now, because if you are easily triggered by anything having to do with children stop right now, because this is hard.
Yeah, this is a very, very emotional and very difficult and very graphic. And we have to put this out there because I know a lot of our viewers, our friends, our community members, our families are suffering from different levels of PTSD and stress and anxiety and so forth. But this is true crime. This is what you get. You have these brutal cases, and we could talk till the sun goes down about the different ones, but we've been covering Harmony from the beginning, and this is a case that's near and dear to all of our hearts. So I want to say thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers, the live chatters, the folks who are leaving positive comments and hearts and prayers in the chat for little baby Harmony Montgomery, and everyone who's affected by it, not only the police and first responders, but our news reporters, as we'll see in the piece that we're going to play here.
Yeah.
Again, Melanie and I are seasoned in, she's an experienced trial attorney. She's seen lots of different things. She's a mom of 5. I'm a father of 2. And I spent 2 decades of my life serving the public and seeing all different levels of horror. And this one here is right up there. It takes the cake. What Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery did together. And we're going to talk about Kayla Montgomery and what her role in this horrific crime was, and how she became turned on Adam when the noose was tightened around her neck. And we're going to talk about that, but we're going to do it later on. We're going to get into it. Let's play this piece from outside the courthouse. This was just about an hour or so after these documents were released. WMUR Channel 9 in the local area there, they fought, Melanie, for the release of this probable cause affidavit and so forth. Just before we play this, you want to give the audience a little piece on the legalities of what they did here and how they were successful in getting this released?
Yeah, they had asked the judge to release this probable cause affidavit a long time ago, and the judge found that it would be it was more important to protect the confidentiality of this document, of the sources named therein, than to release it to the media and the public at that time. They wanted to wait until after the trial on the gun charges was over. And if you recall, we did a show on this, and Adam Montgomery was found guilty of the gun theft and possession charges. And I think at that time, we had no idea the graphic nature of this horrific crime and what was contained in this affidavit. And I think they did the right thing by sealing it until then. Yeah. They waited 10 business days until after that verdict came in to release the document. So it was released this morning at 9 a.m. You're going to watch this reporter, who's a local reporter out of Manchester, and my heart breaks for her having to do this so early in the morning without really being prepared for what she was about to read and what she was about to report on. But we'll see.
My heart broke for her. And I think it's important that the audience understands is that when the Attorney General made the announcement of Adam Montgomery's arrest for the murder of Harmony Montgomery, he did give a overview and he did speak about beating with the closed fist, but there was no details of the graphic nature and how it unfolded. And that's what was released today, amongst other things that we're going to hear about. So before I play this, again, I want to put the disclaimer and remind everybody this can cause, PTSD to trigger. And down below in the scrolling ticker that we have, the Manchester Police Department is reminding the public that the tip line is open because they want to recover Harmony Montgomery's remains. They have biological evidence from ceiling tiles that we'll hear about in this report, but they desperately want to find her skeletal remains and bring them home and lay her to rest. And I have no doubt in my mind that the Manchester Police Department will probably get behind funeral services for Harmony Montgomery because that's how invested the police chief is in this thing. We saw him almost openly weep at a press conference twice. So emotions are running high. Let's play this. This was from a little bit past 9 o'clock, Melanie, this morning, right?
This morning, yeah.
All right. This is a news reporter. You're going to hear her very emotional. Let's get into it and we'll be right back with you guys.
Good morning. My name is Amy Cavino. We are live outside Superior Court here in the city of Manchester, where just about 7 minutes ago, this motion was unsealed by the court. This was a motion filed by WMUR to unseal the affidavit of the Harmony Montgomery murder investigation. It's 48 pages. We've only had our hands on it for a few minutes. And we do have to warn you here that the information laid out in this affidavit is extremely graphic. It is upsetting, and so it may be too much to listen to. We are going to try to give you a preview of what happened here to Harmony Montgomery, basically from the words of Kayla Montgomery in an interview she did just about a year ago with police. She describes the family being evicted from that Guilford Street house and living out of a car. This was just around Thanksgiving time of 2019. According to this affidavit and according to Kayla, they were living out of their car with two young boys and little Harmony Montgomery, and that according to Kayla, Harmony was having a lot of bathroom accidents and this family was stressed and Adam was angry, according to the affidavit. And the moment that Harmony was killed is described in this affidavit. It happened shortly after noontime on December 7th. Harmony had had a toileting accident in the backseat of the car. And as he was driving, according to the affidavit, Adam turned around from the driver's seat with a closed fist and assaulted Harmony in the head 2 or 3 times. The affidavit describes this small child making some whimpering sounds. And according to Kayla, Adam says, "I felt something there. I think I really hurt her this time." The affidavit then goes on to say that Harmony whimpered for 5 or 10 minutes in the back seat before falling silent. Kayla admits that no one checked on her. There was no effort to get her first aid. And there was no discussion between Kayla and Adam about what was going on with this child in the back seat. They then arrive in their car at some apartment complex here in the city. And Adam goes to the back of the trunk of this car, unpacks an Under Armour type gym bag, and proceeds to put little Harmony's body inside that gym bag. This affidavit then goes on to describe how Adam dealt with the remains of this small child over the intervening weeks and months. This child's body was transferred to numerous locations around the city. Some of the most profound DNA evidence, according to police in this affidavit, was found inside a Families in Transition apartment. The Montgomery family moved into that apartment on December 30th of 2019, so about 3 weeks after Harmony was allegedly murdered by Adam. At this point, her little body, according to the affidavit, was in a trash bag in a cooler, and that bag had then been moved up inside a ceiling tile of this apartment at Families in Transition. Just a year ago, detectives got inside that apartment and went up inside that ceiling tile. There are pictures in this affidavit that show staining, which they say is from a decomposing body. And some of the most significant DNA evidence comes from that location in this case. We can also tell you that for a time, Adam was working as a dishwasher at a local restaurant here in the city, and that according to Kayla, for at least a week, a trash bag containing little Harmony Montgomery was located in the walk-in freezer. There is a lot to unpack in this 48-page affidavit. It is upsetting. It is graphic. We are going to work our way through it and present more to you at noontime. For now, we're outside Superior Court. I'm Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
She could barely get through that. And my heart broke for that woman when I saw that early this morning. You and I started communicating the graphic details. He brought Harmony's remains to a walk-in freezer at his job and left her there. Food probably stacked right up next to her for weeks.
They were living in a Chrysler Sebring with their two other biological children. One of them was 2.5. One of them was 10 months old. They had been living in their car since about November 27th. This horrific incident happened on December 7th of 2019, which was the same day that this Chrysler Sebring broke down. The car broke down. It died in an intersection in Manchester. They called the police. They called a tow truck. And that's when he put Harmony's body into a duffel bag to get it out of there before the tow truck got there.
Just horrific, shocking, all of the above. And you know, my really big problem here is that had Kayla Montgomery not been squeezed by detectives, and kudos to the Manchester Police Department and their detective unit, because they forced her. They tightened, and I hate to use that term, but they tightened the noose around her neck. They made her world so much smaller because she knew that she could have the potential to go to jail for the rest of her life. So a deal was cut with her to cooperate and give this testimony and these statements. And
Yeah.
she's going to be their star witness against him at his murder trial come November. So
2 years after the fact is
Yeah.
when they got this information from her. It was
Right.
2 years
and that's
later.
the thing that has me furious, Melanie, is that, okay, granted, Kayla is not, has no biological connection to Harmony, but that doesn't mean shit. She sat and with a stone cold face lied to the police that were interviewing her, lied before the grand jury. And she's going to use that card of, I was in fear of my life. I'm a battered woman. It probably already went that route. But in my eyes here, this is what I look at. I look at Harmony. I look at this little girl, and she knew that she was making moaning noises for 5 to 10 minutes in the back of that car and did not even say, hey, let's take her to the hospital. She just went along with it.
They didn't even look.
She should
They
never
didn't
be,
even look in the back seat.
she should never see the light of day. Melanie, am I off base on this? What's your thoughts?
No, that she should never see the light of day? Hell to the no. How about she's an accomplice in the worst way? He did it. She watched it. She helped him move this body around for months. She knew exactly what happened, and she said nothing for 2 years. And you know what? She didn't really start talking until they had another biological child after this, by the way.
Yeah.
So they had another child in November of 2020. They had disposed of Harmony's body, I think, by March. He left her because he had an affair with somebody else, I think, in October of 2021. And that's when she started singing, because now he was with somebody else.
Who turned up dead.
Who turned up dead 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl that he went to be with. They were found living in a car on December 31st of 2021. Her name was, what was her name? Kelsey Smalls.
Yes.
Kelsey Small.
Yeah.
They were living in the car together. Kelsey had said when she was interviewed by police, said that they were together for over a year. Kelsey was found dead 3 months later in a hotel room, and the police ruled it no foul play.
So she started singing when she found out that he was with somebody else. And also, again, as I keep repeating, when the noose tightened around her neck, when her world became very small and she was cornered, and like a cat, she gave it up and said, this is what I'm going to do. Judith Lyons also reminds us that she stole Harmony Montgomery's government benefits, knowing that she was
in the checks.
beaten to death. Horrible.
Now, remember, Harmony wasn't even reported missing until November of 2021.
Correct.
And she was reported missing by her biological mother, who hadn't heard from her since Easter of 2019. So 18 months went by before Crystal Story, who's her biological mom, who had lost custody of her in 2018 because of repeated drug use, didn't report her missing until 18 months after the last time she had FaceTimed with her. So many things went wrong here.
So wrong. I'm going to let the audience listen to the second piece. And this is our same reporter later today. She's working probably still on this story tonight. But this is later on, probably around the 4 o'clock hour or 5 o'clock hour. I want you guys to take a listen to this because there's more details that she unfolds here and releases.
It is 48 pages of alleged abuse suffered by a 5-year-old child while she was alive and even after she died. And according to her own stepmother, it was at the hands of her dad. Harmony Montgomery's crooked smile, pink glasses, and pigtails stole the hearts of the world. But according to the affidavit, her father was the exception to that. He raged at his little girl over toileting accidents, Kayla Montgomery told police. The affidavit says Harmony's final moments of life were agonizing. She moaned in pain until she died. Her tiny face and head received blow after blow. Adam Montgomery reaching back from the driver's seat, delivering the violence as he drove. Once Kayla and Adam realized Harmony was dead on December 7th, 2019, Kayla says Adam got a duffel bag from the trunk and placed his daughter's body inside, starting a months-long project of moving, hiding, and storing the child's body. From car to car, then in a cooler kept in a common hallway of the building where Kayla's mother lived, in a storage bin transported by stroller to a family's in transition apartment, then wrapped in a trash bag and hidden in a ceiling vent until neighbors complained of the smell. Moved to a maternity bag, set in between Harmony's 2 half-brothers in their stroller, and taken to a walk-in freezer at the now closed Portland Pie Company where Adam worked. He stored Harmony's body there for a week. 7 locations detailed. The final one, an apartment on Union Street. There, nearly 3 months after Harmony's death, Kayla told police Adam spent 4 to 6 hours in the bathroom trying to reduce Harmony's body using lime and brute force. They worked together to squeeze Harmony back into the maternity bag and put her in the freezer. Pressure mounting, Adam got a U-Haul, left for hours overnight, and when he returned, Kayla says Harmony was gone. Detectives traced the U-Haul to the Tobin Bridge using toll data, triggering a search at a marsh in Revere. Harmony's remains are still not recovered. Investigators refuse to give up. Adam Montgomery's defense attorney did not want this affidavit unsealed. She argued forcefully in court that investigative work should not become part of the public domain before the trial. We did reach out to Caroline Smith this afternoon. We have not heard back.
Melanie, I saw you taking some notes while we were watching this. Any thoughts on that piece, that part of the story?
I'm just speechless.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, amazing detective work that they were able to locate this Chrysler Sebring 2 years later. that it had been sold to a salvage yard or something, because I guess they never got the Chrysler Sebring back that day that it was towed, which was the day of the murder.
Right. December.
And the detectives were able to locate that Sebring and recover it and test it for evidence. I'm rarely speechless, but I'm speechless.
And here's the thing, folks. Not only did they bring Harmony's remains to several different locations, but also Kayla's mother, who lives in a multi-family dwelling, they left her remains in a common hallway. That means, for those of you who don't, maybe just live in a private house or common hallways, that means the residents in that building, in that dwelling, had to walk past those remains, and they complained of the smell. And then they moved it. So Kayla's mother, as innocent as she seemed in her interview that we played, Melanie, I think she's full of shit too. I think that she had full well some knowledge that something was up, because she was asked, when was the last time you saw Harmony? When was the last time? And she put it all on to Adam. She called him an evil monster, which she's correct. But she should have added, and my daughter is equally as evil as him.
It was her cooler.
Yeah.
They asked her for a cooler. She gave them the cooler. The cooler was also recovered by the detectives in this case 2 years later. They went back to her mother's house, Christina Lublin's house, and said, we're looking for a red cooler with a white top. Do you have one? Oh, yeah, sure, I have one. And they have the cooler 2 years later. I don't know that they were able to recover anything from it, but it's an evidence.
Right. I want to show the folks, Melanie, this is the exact location where Harmony's body was brought to. This is as you could see, there is 1, 2, 3 mailboxes. So it's a 3-family dwelling at 258, whatever street this is. So I'm going to play this. I was
going to say play this. So I've got to hear this again now that we know what we know.
Yeah. The audio on this is not that great, but there is about 3 or 4 news reporters. You see the mic here. There's another one here, and there's a couple more. And this is the reporters peppering Kayla Montgomery's mom, Christina Lublin.
And she has made her choices, and that's all I can say. I'm just asking you, just for the children's sake, I do pray for Harmony, and I did have something come to me today for the police that I thought may help, which I did tell the police I'm not going to give that out yet because I don't want to hinder it in any way. Just please.
When did you see Harmony?
When did you see Harmony?
I knew it was in the wintertime. I wasn't exactly sure when. And when I spoke with my daughter, she was telling me it was the day after Thanksgiving. Okay.
That last year in 2020 or 2021?
No, that was in 2019.
And did you ever ask your daughter where she was after that? That you never saw her again?
Well, she told me that because they came here the end of December during the holidays, and they were here briefly.
When she was dead.
I asked her, I'm like, well, I expected Harmony to do them, and they said no. And I know they've been kind of living on the streets and in a car kind of thing. And well, she didn't say no. She said she's with her mother.
Did you hear what she said there? That she came after the holidays in December with him, and they stayed here. And according to the affidavit,
they did.
They brought her remains there.
Right, they did, in the cooler. She gave them the cooler to put them in.
Yeah,
they're living in the car, that kind of thing, she says.
Right, I backed it up, but the red cooler, and just for the people who are questioning in the chat, this is a common hallway right here that she's standing in, because when you open this door, because I was on patrol for almost a decade, I know how these multifamily dwellings are. There's usually like a stairs leading up to the second or third floor. If it had 3 floors, it looks like the dwelling next to her has 3 floors. You can see them right here. There's the third where my cursor is, second, first. So it's probably a 3-story dwelling. Stairs are usually right to the left, and it leads up. So common hallway could have meant in the first floor, second floor, or third floor. And listen to what she says when asked, when was the last time you saw Harmony?
No, and I know they've been kind of living on the streets and in a car kind of thing. And well, she didn't say no. She said she's with her mother. And I didn't question it because I didn't know until all the news, the history of the family And Adam, for the first couple of years, was some sweet guy, and he's not. He is pure evil. He is pure evil. So I hope, I really, really hope the information that came to me today that can help in the search for Harmony. And that's really where my prayers are now, because my grandchildren will be with me, so I'm not going to be worried about them. And just please respect the privacy.
Yeah.
This is so scary for
Do you think
children.
Harmony's do you think Harmony's still alive?
I hope and pray she's still alive, but it's been 2 years, so I don't know.
It's been 2 years.
I don't know.
You got to be heartbroken over this.
I'm distraught. My body's been shaking every couple hours because I can't get away from it. You know what I mean? I can't not check the news. I want to know what's going on, and I have spoken to police several times.
Do you think your daughter had any involvement in her disappearance?
Kayla told me that, just as in her affidavit, and I drilled my daughter. Believe me, I asked. With her history, yeah, she used to be a liar, but I know how to get the truth out of my daughter.
Wait, what did she say? She can be a liar?
She said that Harmony is still alive. She drilled.
Oh, I thought she said my daughter can be a liar.
I'm going to pull it back.
Yeah, she used to be a liar. Daughter, believe me,
She used to be a liar.
Do you think your daughter had any involvement in her disappearance?
Kayla told me that, just as in her affidavit, and I drilled my daughter. Believe me, I asked. With her history, yeah, she used to be a liar.
She used to be a liar.
Yeah,
But I
with her
know-
history.
But I know what. Hold on, let's see this.
She used to be a liar, but I know how to get the truth out of my daughter.
I know how to get the truth out of my daughter.
The youngest daughter, I asked. With her history, yeah, she used to be a liar, but I know how to get the truth out of my daughter. The youngest daughter, her daughter wasn't born yet, and Harmony was with him. He dropped her off at work, and he said to her, "I am bringing Harmony to her mother." And then he came back later. I don't know how many hours. I don't know that she was working at a Dunkin' Donuts. I've given all that information to the police, but Kayla said, "Where is he?" She didn't say where she is, but I don't know. I'm so confused right now.
And when do you think that happened?
In my mind, from what I've tried to gather, and all the media has been great with trying to get all the information out there, and the social media I thought has been great too. But I think it happened like in a week period. And I think it happened from December 6th till prior to December 6th. So December 6th, anytime after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving to December 6th. So it's like.
So she actually called it 1 day shy of when she was
Right.
murdered.
Yeah.
She thinks it happened, and she's saying when she went missing from after Thanksgiving to December 6th. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Let's back that up a minute. Yeah, she's doing the time frame with her hands.
In my mind, from what I've tried to gather, and
She's saying from what I tried to gather.
all the media has been great with trying to get all the information out there, and the social media I thought has been great too. But I think it happened like in a week period, and I think it happened from December 6th till prior to December 6th. So December 6th, anytime after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving to December 6th. So it's like there's a third.
That's interesting why she said that. I want.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to take that off.
I'll tell you why, because they were living in the car from November 27th, which was like right around Thanksgiving. Somebody testified in front of the grand jury that they actually brought them Thanksgiving dinner to the car. So there were sightings of Harmony around Thanksgiving because they brought food for the 3 children that were living in the car, as well as Kayla and Adam, that when their car broke down and was towed away, their friend lent them his Audi to live in.
Angelo is his name.
Yes. And then the Audi also broke down. Now, keep in mind, it was 19 degrees at night in Manchester, New Hampshire. And these two are now living in the car. Do they have to keep the car running? They must have to keep the car running, right?
Yeah.
24 hours a day to stay warm in 19-degree weather.
He was using a generator at the old house that they were evicted from because they got their lights cut off.
Hmm.
So, these are the conditions that they were living under. And this poor girl, as we heard, Harmony was forced to use a toothbrush to clean the toilets. She had a black eye, according to
Right.
uncle, right?
Right. Kevin Montgomery, the uncle, called Manchester police in July of 2019, which would have been 5 months before they did away with Harmony, and said to Manchester police, Harmony Montgomery has a black eye, and her father told me that he bashed her around the room, and I want you to go there and do a home visit. And they went and did a home visit. They didn't see any, the evidence of a black eye. They went back. The last home visit that they did, DCYF did a last home visit on October 1st of 2019. They said there wasn't any evidence of abuse, but there would be reason for concern in the future. And a little over 2 months later, little Harmony was gone.
I want to play this piece from Court TV because this also is a part of this tragedy. There was a news reporter from the Washington, D.C. area, and we're going to get his name when this reporter from Court TV talks about him and his husband were willing and had Harmony Montgomery's brother. They adopted him, and
That's
they
right.
wanted to adopt her.
Right.
But Adam invoked his parental right
Well,
and stopped this adoption from happening.
Mhm.
If this adoption went through and was granted, we wouldn't even be here today talking about this.
Adam was granted custody by a Massachusetts judge in February of 2019 after having spent a whopping total of 40 hours with Harmony her entire life, in her 5 years of life. She had special needs. She was blind in one eye. This lovely couple who had adopted her half-brother wanted to adopt her. I guess we'll see what happened in the interview.
My God. All right, here we go. So this is from Court TV from today.
Blow your mind even more about this. And I want all of our viewers to pay close attention. So little Harmony was wanted, not by her biological dad, Adam Montgomery, but she was wanted by the adoptive parents of her biological brother, Jameson. Blair Miller is an outstanding journalist. He's also a personal friend of mine, and he and his husband, Jonathan, have adopted 3 boys. One of them is little Jameson Montgomery, Harmony's biological brother. And Blair and Jonathan wanted to adopt Harmony as well, and they couldn't. You know why? Because Adam Montgomery had asserted his parental rights and wouldn't give them up. And then look what he did to her, allegedly. Forced her to live in a car. Beat her, allegedly, multiple times on multiple occasions until he allegedly beat her to death. I think that might be what sickens me most, is that there was a family out there who wanted to take that little child and love her and give her a beautiful life that she deserves to have, just like her brother Jameson. Vonda, your reaction hearing that?
I can't get past the beating. I understand that there was a family that wanted her, but I can't get past that this man would turn his entire body around, ball up his fist, and beat a child that he made. So I understand what you're saying about that she did have a chance, but it is mind-boggling to me, and it is chilling, and it's stuff that nightmares are made of. I mean, look at that tiny little girl and her cute little glasses. How could you get angry at anybody that little?
That's the face of evil right there, and a sweet angel. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, and I thank everybody for being civil in the chat, because it's so easy for us to go off on everybody involved here, right? We talked about the judge in Massachusetts giving custody to Adam after spending 40 hours total in this whole Harmony's lifetime. He spent 40 hours with her, and that's probably open to debate whether it was in fact 40 hours. And he
had a long list of felonies. The guy had a record that was as long as my arm.
Shot somebody in the face
During a heroin deal. stabbed a guy in the leg and pushed him in front of a moving car. And this is the guy you're going to give custody to?
Sickening. This whole case just is sickening. And listen, folks, at the end of the day, we need to speak about this. We need to speak loud and clear. And everyone who's failed Harmony Montgomery, and we said this in our last live, and we took a little bit of heat for this, but I'm going to say it again. I won't change my position on this. Crystal and Adam produced Harmony Montgomery. Unfortunately, they failed her first and foremost. Then it was a domino effect right down the line. Everybody else that was anybody that had a hand in, cousins, uncles, relatives, stepmothers, step this, step that, friends, everybody. Then the fail-safe that was supposed to be in place to protect our children, DCYF, they're supposed to protect the children that can't protect themselves. They can't speak up for themselves. They can't fend for themselves. That failed. The police department, as much as I don't like to admit to it, they failed, because how many times were they in contact with Harmony Montgomery? How many times did they have a chance? And we hear this over and over and over again. When is this going to stop? We hear it in all these cases. Little Tommy Valva. Look at Summer Wells down in Tennessee. Living in squalor in a house of horrors. And she just, poof, vanished off the face of the earth. Harmony Montgomery. There's just been so many opportunities for people to step in and say, hey, wait a minute, time out. I'm responding to a call for service that there's a disturbance from the neighbors, and you have drug addicts running around with not just Harmony, 3 or 4 other kids, boys, run around that property. How, in God's name, did somebody not see something? I have a hard time accepting that. I really do. And it's easy for me to armchair quarterback it here.
Yeah.
But when we look at the totality of the evidence and the response, everything that's public record, Melanie, that is all of these police calls for service and the calls from Crystal Sorey that went according to her, that went unchecked.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally wrote a letter to the mayor of Manchester and said, I'm outing you guys. I'm going to the media. And then this is all according to her, the ball started getting rolling at that time, but it was goddamn too late. It was too late.
18 months since the last time she had spoken to her. And by the time she reported it in November of 2021, Harmony had been gone for nearly a year.
Right.
No, 2 years by then. It was December of 2019. So
people keep using that drug addiction crutch. If you're a parent and you create someone and bring someone into this world, the onus is on you to stop your drug use. And listen, I know it's easy for me to say this, but at the end of the day, she's responsible. He's responsible. He killed her. But he never loved her and never cared for her. So when you give the excuse of, well, she was a recovering addict or she was struggling. Well, yeah. You know how many struggling drug addicts bring children into this world? And you know how many children die because of their lack of attention and behavior and care? Because they care about getting their next fix of over and above caring for their child.
So why would the court take Harmony from one admitted drug addict and give her to another admitted drug addict? This is where I'm having a real problem connecting the dots here, Ron. When there's a couple who already has adopted her half-brother that was perfectly willing, wanting her.
Yeah.
The amount of drug use, and this is what really concerned me during the gun trial, was that every single person who testified on behalf of the prosecution was an admitted heavy heroin, meth, and crack user. And yes, maybe some of them have recovered, maybe some of them haven't. I don't care. That's not the point of my story. The point of my story is that if you are going out to score crack while your babies are sleeping in the next room and your friends are coming over and you're shooting up heroin while your babies are sleeping in the next room, it's not just you that you're affecting, it's your children. And if your friends know about it and they're not saying anything, and your neighbors know about it and they're not saying anything, how's anybody going to ever do anything? Here, say something. If you have neighbors that you know are foster parents, that you know are abusing their children, that you know are using drugs in the presence of their kids, say something.
Yeah. If you see something, say something. And we talk about this all the time, Melanie. And listen, it's very easy to pick up the phone and make a call. Call 911.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't respond, call them again.
You know, and it's almost too easy because there's a lot of false allegations that are made with CPS, because you can call CPS anonymously and, you know, you can try and get revenge on someone that you're divorcing or someone you want to have a custody battle with or something. But if you're a neighbor and you're like, you know, classic and sincere, that's another example. Those two poor boys
failed.
And this, again, is another thing that happened during COVID, where so many kids that we're going to find out more and more and more fell through the cracks during COVID, when people were locked down, stress was at an all-time high, nobody was really watching out for each other. It's just, it's gross. It's gross. It's heartbreaking.
You know, and I'm thinking now, like, I'm looking at Darlene Wolf. By the way, she just had surgery recently. I hope you're recovering well, Darlene, and thank you for being a longtime supporter here on Crime Time with DutyRon. You know, Darlene brings up CPS is a huge joke. I did a full expose, a full 2-part series with a former DCYF worker, social worker from New Hampshire. And you know what? She wouldn't even come on the show with me with her face. She only came on with audio because, not because she was afraid to talk about, because she talked openly about what goes on and how they do things. She was afraid of retribution, of someone coming after her in her current job. And obviously we didn't release where she was working, but she was so pissed about this that she wanted to, and she spent 2 hours interviewing with me on the phone before we came live. And I'll link that down below in the description. You guys can watch it and your jaw will drop with the things that she told me and that she told us about New Hampshire DCYF. And we listened to the Governor Sununu come on, and I know I'm saying his name wrong. He came on and doubled down and said, we're stronger and better than we've ever been. In 2019 and 2020, I revamped the system. We're operating more efficiently than we ever. And I was like, what the I said, what is he talking about?
Pointing fingers at Massachusetts on this one.
Yeah. Let's listen to the Attorney General, because I want people to understand this. Okay, so some people were saying, well, this isn't any new information. They already put it out. 7 months ago in a press conference, the Attorney General outlined the charges against Adam Montgomery. And during that press conference, and it's only a few minutes that I'll play, he's going to talk about the death of Harmony Montgomery and how she died. But we didn't hear these inner details that we're hearing now. And I'm going to play that right after that. You have a comment up there?
Yeah, like what Don says, someone brought them food to the car but didn't call CPS. Yeah. Not only that, he said they could live in his car for a couple of days.
In his Audi. Yeah, come.
In 19-degree weather. What are we doing?
Yeah. Hey, folks in the chat, if you have questions, hold them for in the next 10 minutes. We're going to get to your questions. # Melanie, # DutyRon. But let's take a listen to this, because this was 7 months ago. All right. When Adam Montgomery was arrested and charged with the murder of Harmony Montgomery.
Investigation into the 2019 murder of Harmony Montgomery.
Good afternoon. I'm New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella, and I'm joined here today by Manchester Police Chief Alan Aldenberg and the team from the Manchester Police Department and members of my office. We're here today to provide a further update regarding the ongoing investigation into the 2019 murder of Harmony Montgomery. As you'll recall, back in January, we announced that 5-year-old Harmony likely disappeared sometime between November 28th and December 10th of 2019. In August of this year, after almost 8 months of investigative work undertaken by the Manchester Police Department, the Attorney General's Office, the U.S. Marshals Service, the FBI, and other law enforcement partners, we announced that we had concluded that 5-year-old Harmony was murdered in Manchester in early December of 2019. This conclusion was based on multiple sources of investigative information, including biological evidence. Since August, the Manchester Police Department, the Attorney General's Office, and our other law enforcement partners have continued to investigate this case in an effort to seek answers and justice for Harmony. Today, we are announcing another major step in this investigation. Earlier this morning, Adam Montgomery was arrested for the murder of Harmony Montgomery in 2019 and other related charges. Specifically, Mr. Montgomery has been charged with the following 4 crimes. Second-degree murder for recklessly causing the death of Harmony Montgomery, a person under 13 years of age, under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life, by repeatedly striking Harmony in the head with a closed fist in Manchester on or about December 7th, 2019.
There you go.
Falsifying physical evidence for purposely altering, destroying, concealing, or removing the body of Harmony Montgomery with a purpose to impair its verity or availability in an official proceeding or investigation in Manchester between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020. Abuse of corpse for purposefully and unlawfully removing, concealing, or destroying the corpse of Harmony Montgomery or any part thereof in Manchester between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020.
You see, Melanie, they had it all right here 7 months ago. And and I'm saying this for our audience, what they revealed today was what was sealed, right?
Right.
The inner details. But as you're hearing, the Attorney General is spelling it out in a 7-month-old press conference. We just didn't hear about the details of driving around and bringing her body from place to place. And as they showed the footage, Melanie, of the backyard that they excavated and thawed out and the Union Street apartment, those were all places that they had information from Kayla that he brought her body to and stored her body. So they were looking for not only obviously her body, but for biological evidence.
Right.
And again, it's 7 months ago that we're playing this. I'm going to let the rest of this play out because he spells out a little bit more here. But I just wanted the audience and from some of the folks who might watch on the replay and say, hey, why are you playing this? This is significant because this ties into what we are looking at today in the current. Melanie, you have anything to say?
No, let's keep playing it. It's just.
And tampering with witnesses or any part thereof in Manchester between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020. And tampering with witnesses or informants for purposely attempting to induce or otherwise cause Kayla Montgomery to testify or inform falsely in Manchester between approximately December 7th, 2019 and January 4th, 2022. Mr. Montgomery is expected to be arraigned on these charges in Hillsborough County Superior Court, Northern District in Manchester tomorrow, October 25th, 2022. While today's arrest is a major step in this investigation, there is much work to come. The charges and allegations against Adam Montgomery are merely accusations, and he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That said, today I do want to again express my deepest sympathies to Harmony's family, friends, and loved ones. We understand that today's news while significant for
What's unfortunate about that is that I don't believe she had any loved ones. There's nobody really stepped up.
No.
So I'm going to put us back because I want to go to, if you don't mind, Melanie, to the audience. So at this time now, if you guys want to put in hashtag DutyRon, hashtag Melanie, if your question is long, just put it all in caps. Is the one time I promote people or encourage people to promote caps in the chat. We'll pick it up. Little Patty says hashtag DutyRon. If Harmony would have been adopted, they would have lost her monthly benefits. They would have lost their free drug money. You know, Little Patty, that could have been one of the factors. I'm not certain that's the only factor, because right now the information that we have is that they received welfare and food stamps for her. I don't know what the dollar amount is. And when we look at California with Sincere and Classic, they were what, $1,000 or $2,000?
$1,000 a month per foster child. They had 4, so they were making $4,000 a month. They had no other jobs.
So
that was their sole income.
And we don't think that they were drug addicts, but they were certainly using that money to live as adults. That's Trezell West and Jacqueline West. Roro is in the chat. Our good friend, bio cousin to the Sincere and Classic. So, Ro, always good to see you. Sending you love and support as always. Let's scan the chat and let's get to some questions. I'm almost
Somebody asked earlier where they could read the affidavit, so maybe you can link it in the description or somewhere later in the body. I will advise you, this is not bedtime reading. This is not something to read before you're going to go to bed. It is 48 pages of
horror,
really, really horrifying stuff.
Horrifying. So
a lot of which we didn't even get into.
Right. And I didn't want to get into it because I don't want to overload with too much. We will do some follow-ups on this, obviously, as things develop. But again, here tonight, I didn't want to overload you guys with reading out 40. And I had asked Melanie to read, like a timeline. But, we have so many videos, you can go back and look at a timeline. Mm-hmm. And BB2, who's a channel member, says, hashtag DutyRon and Melanie. Will Adam now be charged with killing her versus the charge he facing?
Yes, he was indicted by a grand jury on January 26th of 2023.
Second-degree murder.
Second-degree murder, and a couple of the other charges like the abuse of a corpse and some other things. So yeah, he will be standing trial for that, I believe. When is that coming up?
In November of 2020. So Holly says, hashtag Attorney Melanie Little. That was a lot of lettering right there. If someone called DCYF and felt they didn't help Harmony, could someone have escalated legally in any kind of way? If someone called DCFS and they felt they didn't help, felt that DCYF didn't help Harmony, could they have escalated legally in any other way?
Somebody mentioned in the chat that rather than calling DCFS or CPS, it's better to call the police because, it will be escalated if the police are involved. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know how New Hampshire works.
Right.
I would say in New York, it's probably better to call the police.
Right.
Ron, what would you say there?
Yeah. I mean, in New York, you don't get any results. You call the police come out. I've responded to many failed responses to, social services to, and I've escalated myself, and I've actually had a couple of conversations on this. I'm just looking for some notes here. Capital punishment is not an option in
right.
So
I have the definition of second-degree murder. Somebody's asking why second degree.
Right.
And in New Hampshire, second-degree murder is knowingly causing the death of another or causing such death recklessly under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life. Such recklessness and indifference are presumed if the actor causes the death by the use of a deadly weapon in the commission of or in an attempt to commit or in an immediate fight after committing or attempting to commit a Class A felony. Murder in the second degree shall be punishable by imprisonment for life for such term as the court may order. I think perhaps they think they're not going to be able to prove intent.
Right. Just so folks know, yeah, and that's the thing, Melanie. The prosecution has to go for the charges that they feel they can get a guilty verdict on, and then they can, be successful. Okay. Remember, rewind to what just happened a few short weeks ago. He's looking at a potential of 40 years of, right? It was
on each charge,
40,
right?
10, 40 years.
Career criminal,
right?
In possession of a firearm.
Minimum of 10 years on each, maximum of 40. So his ship could potentially be sunk when he gets sentenced on those weapons charges. This will just be adding icing to the cake and getting justice for Harmony. May 30th of 2019, capital punishment was abolished in New Hampshire. So you can thank your governor and the folks who abolished capital punishment on May 30th of 2019. Miss Donna Marie, I want to thank you for being a great moderator. Dawn Marie, Joey Brooklyn, all of the folks who work hard to keep the chat classy, to keep the chat moving. I thank you. Carol, I think we tackled this already. Detective Ron, Melanie, will CPS be held accountable for not stepping in? It looks like, as it shows and appears right now, that's a big no. And I'm sad to say that, because the governor said that he just did a top to bottom independent, using his own people from the state to do an audit. And in my eyes, again, I made a series of videos about this. It's just hogwash. So it's more political bullshit that they're just going to sweep under the rug. Look, we have Thomas Valver, and I keep going back to this case, because no judges in Nassau County and Suffolk County are being held accountable for the missteps that caused him to be frozen to death in his garage out in Center Moriches.
Could they be held accountable in a civil case, Carol? Probably.
There's a $200 million lawsuit against Suffolk County.
In Valva, yeah. But I mean, in this case too, I mean, that's the remedy, would be a civil action. It seems to me that,
who's going to step up?
There's a lot of dropping the ball, and nobody's ever even lost their job over what happened handling a case file like Valva. I think people after Valva, I think some of the caseworkers were promoted.
Right. Yeah.
If you can believe that.
And Crystal Sorey, the biological mom, has no birth rights to Harmony Montgomery. So she couldn't even, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, she would have no grounds to sue DCYF.
I believe she has legal standing as the biological mom.
Because this incident here, her murder, happened way after she lost her rights to her daughter.
But she's still the biological mom as a matter of law.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess anybody could bring forth a civil suit, right? If they get the right attorney.
You'd have to be, you'd have to have legal standing. I mean, why didn't her grandparents fight for her? The other thing that really upsets me about this case, not like it's just everything about this case, but when Kayla's mom came to the door and said sort of like, oh, they were just kind of like living in their car and whatnot, as if it was completely normal that they're just living in their car and whatnot with 3 little children.
Yeah.
Like, where was this woman to help them? And, last time we did a show on this, there were people that were in the chat who would live in the Manchester area. And they said that, unfortunately, this is very common in Manchester and the surrounding areas, is that there are a lot of people living in their cars. There is a rampant drug problem. And what are we doing about that?
Yeah. Didn't you say to me, or was that somebody else, that they drove through that area recently? Was that you, or maybe it was?
I did drive through that area recently. I drove to New Hampshire yesterday.
Right.
And I've seen it. I've seen downtown Manchester, and I don't want to badmouth Manchester because there's people in the chat that are from there. But last time I was there were a lot of people walking around that city that look like zombies to me. And look, we see it in New York City too. All right. There's drug addicts on every corner now in New York City. In fact, they're putting vending machines out to give them free needles and free Narcan and free. I mean, this is like a whole other show we could do.
Unbelievable.
We're encouraging drug use instead of trying to help people get off drugs, which
look at this comment by Karen Bookout. She's a channel member and we appreciate #DutyRon. Just a comment. We wouldn't know all of this if they hadn't given Kayla the proffer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is true. And, we wouldn't know all this either if Kimberly Frayne didn't roll over about those guns being stolen from her house. And that woman, who is sober now and has a job in a hospital, got up and testified in the gun trial on camera. Like, there was nobody who wanted to be there less than she did.
Yeah.
She had turned her life around. She was no longer an addict. She'd been sober for years. She works in a hospital. And she's on camera having to admit all of this stuff about how she called him up and they wanted to smoke crack, but they couldn't find any crack. So they fell asleep. And then the next day she wakes up and there's a crack pipe on the kitchen counter. And they had the camera on her the whole time. Whereas I noticed some other witnesses testified that they didn't have the camera on.
Right.
It made no sense to me.
That was weird. I did
putting her on camera.
I did notice that too. And then we did see some testimony from some of the detectives and some law enforcement, which was good testimony in this trial, in the gun trial. I want to play this last piece before we wrap it up because this has a clip of the Manchester Police Department police chief, and you know what, he's been just on point with everything. And I just wanted to play this. It's just a small little clip with him. This is only 1 minute and 57 seconds, but let's take a listen and then we'll wrap it up, Melanie, because we're at the hour.
Court filings show Adam Montgomery beat his daughter Harmony, moved her body to several locations, and then used a rented U-Haul to dispose of it. Gruesome new details about the death of 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery. Her father, Adam Montgomery, accused of putting the little girl's body inside a cooler, in a bag like this, and even in the ceiling above this bedroom at a shelter. Court filings include a horrifying account from Kayla Montgomery, Adam's estranged wife. She says in 2019, Adam hit Harmony repeatedly in the face and head with a closed fist over several minutes because the little girl was having bathroom accidents in the car they were living in. Kayla says Adam said, "I think I really hurt her this time. I think I did something." Nobody helped Harmony. Hours later, Kayla says she and Adam discovered that Harmony was not breathing and was deceased. Kayla says Adam put Harmony's body in a duffel bag in the trunk, but also would leave it out in the snow to stop decomposition from happening. He's also accused of moving the body to a freezer at the restaurant where he worked and a hotel mini fridge. In March of 2020, the filing says Adam rented a U-Haul and took a trip to dispose of Harmony's remains. Her body has never been found. The van had 3 toll violations on the Tobin Bridge early that morning.
She deserves to be brought home and laid to rest.
Manchester police hoping someone will speak up so Harmony's remains can be found.
My hope is that by this being released, maybe it jogs some memories. Maybe it causes people to rethink maybe some information that they know.
And that's what's important about this. And Chief Alan Aldenberg, again, just him and his members of his small department, they stepped up. And when it came to collecting evidence along with the FBI and all of the various agencies that stepped in, I believe they have a real solid case against Adam Montgomery, and it wouldn't be as solid if they didn't have the testimony and the cooperation of Kayla Montgomery. So I'm thankful on some parts of this. I'm thankful that she did, in fact, give this inner information that we would never get from Adam.
Right.
And you know, this is kind of that it's the give and take, right? There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. In this, as investigators and as the prosecution, we need Kayla or somebody like Kayla to step up. And I don't care if she was cornered like a cat or the noose was tightening, as I say. Mm-hmm. Without her testimony, we would have to rely on evidence that maybe we wouldn't have found. All of those searches at these various different locations were courtesy of her giving up that info.
Yeah, her mother calls her a liar. And she was admittedly, doing a lot of heroin and crack and meth at the time that these events happened. But because of her testimony, they were able to recover the Chrysler Sebring. So they have that evidence. They were able to recover ceiling tiles from that apartment where he stored the duffel bag in the ceiling. They were able to recover the refrigerator or a mini fridge from another location where they moved to. They were able to recover drain pipes from the bathtub where he did the horrific act of
Right.
how did they phrase that? You and I talked about this earlier, of minimizing her body so that it could fit into
Right.
something smaller.
Essentially, they stuffed
So,
her into that bag, but they minimized
right.
and scrunched her up into that.
So we've got forensic evidence to back up what she's saying, because I think that her testimony alone probably wouldn't be the greatest. If this case goes to trial, I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, it looks like a slam dunk to me. And based on only this 48-page probable cause affidavit, the investigation is still ongoing, and there are still witnesses coming forward. And if you have any information about this, we have scrolling along the bottom here the tip line for the Manchester Police Department.
Yeah.
So please, if you know something, now's the time.
Absolutely.
This guy should rot in hell for the rest of his life. He will. I mean, I'm convinced that he will.
Yeah.
But there is no place on this earth for someone who would do this to a child.
Agreed, Melanie. Agreed. Evil, sick monsters.
Evil.
Demonic monsters.
I mean, that is evil personified,
I
right?
mean, yeah. It doesn't get any more evil than that. And that brings me to profiling evil, which just in the chat, my good friend Mike King. So thank you, Mike, for that kind word. Mike I highlighted a message while we were listening to this last piece, but Mike King, great friend. I'm just a little upset with Mike because he made a visit to New York and he didn't tell me he was coming here.
Oh.
And it was that Wednesday that we had all the smoke and the fog, the smog from Canada, and he did a live out in Times Square in New York City. I would have gladly met him for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or even bought him a Dr. Pepper. But he didn't tell me he was coming here. So I'm trying to look for his comment so I can highlight it. There it is.
Had a great show. Oh, well, I just wanted to tell Karen, yes, they were the two other children in the car were Adam and Kayla's biological children.
There you go.
And then they had another child after that because, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. So Mike King, here he is. Again, love you, brother. I had dinner with the PC and she said not to tell you. So I guess that means the PC was more important than DutyRon. So
sorry.
She's not the PC anymore. Anyways, let's just play this final piece right here. And I'm only going to play a minute of this because it goes over what we talked about with the duffel bag and moving her remains, because I want to leave our audience with this, because this is the most important part of the information that came out today. And again, we will be hearing more about this. Who knows if there's more pages to, we got 54 pages. I would guarantee you that there's a lot more information. There's a lot more data that will be exchanged with his defense attorney, Caroline Smith. And there was no comment by her. I didn't expect there to be a comment. Did you, Melanie?
Comment by who?
By Adam's defense attorney, Caroline Smith.
Yeah. Well, what could you possibly say? Yeah. Listen, I got a lot of heat the other day for saying about the Koberger probable cause affidavit that it wasn't very strong, and that there's a lot of blurry video. And I said, wouldn't you put some strong evidence in your PCA if you want to really kind of slam the door? And they were like, no. But this one is very, very strong.
Oh yeah, let's play it.
Then in a cooler kept in a common hallway of the building and storing, starting a months-long project of moving, hiding, and storing the child's body. From car to car, then in a cooler kept in a common hallway of the building where Kayla's mother lived. In a storage bin transported by stroller to a family's in transition apartment, then wrapped in a trash bag and hidden in a ceiling vent until neighbors complained of the smell. Moved to a maternity bag, set in between Harmony's two half-brothers in their stroller, and taken to a walk-in freezer at the now closed Portland Pie Company where Adam worked. He stored Harmony's body there for a week. 7 locations detailed. The final one
an apartment on Union Street. There, nearly 3 months after Harmony's death, Kayla told police Adam spent 4 to 6 hours in the bathroom trying to reduce Harmony's body using lime and brute force.
Reducing her body using
brute force and lime.
Listen, guys and girls, I want to just say thank you again to everybody for tuning in. My heart breaks for Harmony Montgomery. She has no voice here. She is voiceless. So now the district attorney's office, the investigators, and everyone that's involved in this prosecution are her voice, and justice will be served against Adam Montgomery. And I really feel strongly about this statement that I'm about to make. Kayla Montgomery should not walk this earth. She should not get out. But unfortunately, I feel like the deal that they will cut with her will probably guarantee her that she may have an opportunity to get out. And I mean, I can't wrap my head around that because of what we've heard about here today. And I'm sure that there's more that she's not revealing that led up to this murder. This young little girl was tortured by Adam Montgomery, and she was probably there for a lot of it. The washing of the toilets with the toothbrush, the black eyes. These are only things that we heard about. What about the things that we never heard about?
Right.
Was she sexually assaulted? Was she, the drug addicts that were coming in and out of that house where there was no power? Did somebody else abuse her? This poor little soul. It is heartbreaking. I could sit here and cry on camera, but I'm not going to do it, guys. I just got to stay strong for Harmony and for all of these small little defenseless children. And we're going to continue to talk about it. YouTube loves to demonetize these videos. So I'm
sure we were demonetized in the first
I already
minute.
checked. It's fine. I ask you guys to help us by giving this video a thumbs up, liking, subscribing, sharing. Get this video out there. Share it onto your social media. I don't care if you have 5 followers or 105 followers. Share it out there. Get the word. Follow some of the great YouTube content creators like Profiling Evil, Police Off the Cuff, here, Crime Time with DutyRon, and there's many others that are doing a good job at representing the victims and not themselves. And that's what we do here. We try to represent the victims, and if they have families, we support the families by doing the right thing by them and getting the story out about their loved ones. Melanie, I appreciate your time as always. I love and respect you and really admire your fierce fire that you put into this stuff. You really I want to thank Bill Cannon for introducing me to you, and I know that you love doing his show and my show, and I just can't thank you enough. So
oh, thank you. I mean, you're welcome. I mean,
yeah. Again, guys and girls, we will be live when more information comes out. Melanie's traveling for a couple of days. She'll be out on the road. I am going to bring you Forensic Friday with Ed Wallace this Friday night, probably around 9 o'clock. Look for that. We'll try to put a banner out there, a flyer, and promote it. But in the meantime, keep Harmony in your prayers. Keep the Manchester Police Department, the FBI, and all who are involved in this investigation, because the investigation is still ongoing.
Right. I heard they were searching some wetlands nearby, so they may have some information that may help recover Harmony's remains. So
we hope and pray.
Let's hope.
So on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Melanie Little, we're going to wish you guys a good night. Stand by for a short message from the cop team. That's Kara, Oscar, and Popeye. Good night from New York and Long Island. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Take care, guys.